Most people believe their cat spends hours staring at empty walls because they're bored, sleepy, or simply acting strange. But what if that isn't the real reason? What if your cat is noticing an entire layer of the world that your human senses were never designed to experience? Once you understand what your cat actually sees, you'll never look at those quiet moments the same way again. If you've ever walked into a room and found your cat frozen, staring into a corner with huge eyes, you've probably felt that tiny chill run through your body. Your first thought might have been, what are they looking at? For centuries, people have created stories about cats seeing ghosts or supernatural beings. While those legends are fascinating, the truth is even more incredible. Your cat really does experience the world in ways that seem almost magical. Not because they possess supernatural powers, but because evolution gave them senses that are astonishingly different from ours. Imagine living in a world where the smallest movement instantly catches your attention, where darkness is never truly dark, where sounds too high for human ears become part of everyday life, and where invisible scents paint detailed stories across every room. That's the reality your cat lives in every single day. One of the biggest differences lies in their vision. Humans depend heavily on bright light to understand our surroundings. Cats don't. Their eyes contain far more rod cells than ours, allowing them to detect movement even in very dim conditions. That mysterious moment when your cat suddenly locks onto something you can't see at night may simply be because they're noticing a tiny insect, a drifting shadow, or the faint movement of something your eyes completely miss. Think about the last time your home was almost completely dark. You probably reached for your phone's flashlight. Your cat didn't need one. Their eyes gathered every tiny bit of available light, creating a picture that, although less colorful than ours, was far clearer in the darkness. To your cat, the night isn't empty. It's alive with movement. Movement is incredibly important to cats because their ancestors survived by hunting. Their brains evolved to react instantly to the slightest twitch. A tiny dust particle floating through a beam of sunlight, a spider crossing the floor, or a leaf moving outside the window can immediately trigger their attention. Meanwhile, our brains often ignore these small details completely. This is why your cat sometimes appears fascinated by something that seems invisible to you. They're not imagining things. They're simply detecting subtle motion that your eyes automatically filter out. But vision is only part of the story. Your cat's hearing is extraordinary. Humans hear only a limited range of sounds, but cats can detect much higher frequencies. They may hear mice moving inside walls, tiny insects buzzing in another room, electrical devices producing faint high-pitched noises, or even distant animal calls that never reach your awareness. Picture your home as an orchestra. To you, only a handful of instruments are playing. To your cat, dozens more are performing all around them. Every creak, every rustle, every tiny vibration adds another piece to the soundtrack of their world. Have you ever noticed your cat suddenly turning both ears toward an empty hallway before anyone walks in? Sometimes they're hearing footsteps long before you do. Other times, they're picking up sounds from outside that seem completely silent to human ears. Their ears rotate almost like miniature satellite dishes, constantly searching for information. Then there's smell, perhaps the greatest superpower of all. We often forget that cats don't just see their surroundings, they smell them in incredible detail. Every person who enters your home leaves behind a trail of scent. Every pet, every meal, every object carries invisible information. Imagine reading an entire biography simply by taking one breath. That's closer to how your cat experiences scent. They can recognize where you've been, whether another animal visited, if someone is stressed, and even subtle emotional changes through body odors and hormones. This explains why your cat sometimes sniffs your clothes intensely after you've been outside. They're gathering information, almost like reading today's newspaper. They're discovering where you've been, who you've met, and what unfamiliar scents you've carried home. Cats also possess an incredible organ called the Jacobson's organ, located on the roof of their mouth. This specialized sensory system allows them to analyze certain chemical signals in ways humans simply cannot. If you've ever seen your cat pause with its mouth slightly open after smelling something, almost as if making a funny face, that's called the Feline response. They're processing information on an entirely different sensory level. Even air currents tell your cat a story. Their sensitive whiskers detect tiny changes in airflow, helping them understand nearby objects without touching them. Long before they squeeze through a narrow gap, their whiskers have already measured whether they'll fit. Those whiskers are much more than decorations. They're highly sophisticated navigation tools that constantly collect environmental information. A gentle breeze entering through a barely opened window, the movement of another animal around a corner, or the shift of air caused by someone entering a room can all become noticeable signals. Sometimes people ask why their cat suddenly becomes alert for no obvious reason. The answer is often simple. Your cat noticed a combination of tiny clues your senses never collected. A faint vibration under the floor, an unfamiliar scent drifting through the air, a distant sound, and a subtle movement all combine into one clear message for your feline companion. This doesn't mean cats predict the future or possess magical powers. Instead, they excel at recognizing patterns from countless pieces of information that humans never even notice. Their brains constantly process sensory details that remain completely hidden from us. Interestingly, scientists have discovered that many animals, including cats, are extremely sensitive to changes in routine and human behavior. Your cat notices when you wake up later than usual, when your walking pace changes, when your voice sounds different, or when your body language shifts ever so slightly. That's one reason cats often seem to know when you're sad. They're not reading your mind. They're observing tiny behavioral changes that even your closest friends may overlook. A slower step, a quieter voice, longer periods of sitting still, or even subtle differences in your scent caused by stress hormones can all communicate your emotional state. Many cat owners have experienced moments when their cat quietly climbs into their lap during difficult days. While every cat has a unique personality, these behaviors remind us that they may be responding to signals we don't even realize we're sending. Have you ever wondered why your cat sits at the window for hours? You might think they're staring at nothing, but outside is an endless stream of information. Birds flying overhead, insects crawling across leaves, distant sounds changing light, moving branches, unfamiliar scents carried by the wind. It's like watching hundreds of television channels at once. To your cat, every day outside the window is a completely new adventure. Their world is also built around patience. Unlike humans who often rush from one task to another, cats are masters of observation. They can remain perfectly still because they're constantly collecting information. What appears to us as doing nothing is often intense concentration. Perhaps that's one reason so many people feel peaceful simply watching a sleeping or quietly observing cat. They remind us to slow down and notice the small details we've forgotten. There are still mysteries about feline perception that science continues to explore. Researchers are constantly learning more about how cats process vision, sound, scent, and environmental changes. Every discovery reveals that their experience of reality is far richer and more complex than we once believed. So the next time your cat pauses, stares into the distance, or suddenly follows something with their eyes that you can't see, don't immediately assume they're behaving strangely. Instead, remember that you're sharing your home with an animal experiencing an invisible world layered right on top of your own. They aren't living in a fantasy. They're living in a reality shaped by senses that humans simply don't possess. Maybe that's one of the greatest gifts cats give us. They gently remind us that the world is far bigger than what our own eyes can see. There are quiet stories unfolding all around us, hidden in tiny movements, soft sounds, delicate scents, and subtle moments we usually rush past without noticing. Your cat isn't trying to frighten you when they stare into an empty room. More often than not, they're simply paying attention to details that remain invisible to us. And perhaps in their own silent way, they're encouraging us to become a little more curious, a little more patient, and a little more aware of the beautiful mysteries that surround everyday life. If your cat has ever done something that made you wonder what they were seeing, we'd love to hear about it. Share your cat's name and your most unforgettable experience in the comments below. If you enjoy discovering the hidden world your feline friend experiences every day, don't forget to like this video, subscribe for more fascinating cat psychology and behavior, and share this with another cat lover who has asked the exact same mysterious question. Until next time, give your cat a gentle scratch behind the ears, appreciate the remarkable companion beside you, and remember that while you may never see the world exactly as they do, every day they quietly remind us that there is always more to discover.